So what if venting about your terrible morning commute didn't just, put you in a bad mood, but actually, like, mathematically deleted the good things that were supposed to happen to you today?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a terrifying thought.
Right. I mean, have you ever felt like you're doing absolutely everything right to improve your mindset, but you still feel totally stuck in this negative loop?
Oh, definitely. It's like you're doing the work, right?
Exactly. You're reading the right articles, taking those mental health walks, you're trying to reframe your thoughts, yet somehow you just find yourself right back in that same old rut.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
It is. It's like trying to bail water out of a leaking boat using a teaspoon. I mean, you're sweating, you're putting in all this effort, but the water level just isn't dropping. It's
Yeah.
like the underlying physics of the whole situation are just completely working against you.
It's an incredibly frustrating and honestly a universally common human experience. You put in this immense cognitive effort to just be positive, but the mental math just doesn't seem to add up in your favor.
Mental math.
Yeah. Yeah, the baseline of your daily mood never seems to actually shift, like no matter how many times you try to bail out that water.
The mental math.
Yeah.
That is the perfect way to phrase it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the core of what we're focusing on today for this deep
Yeah.
dive.
Right into it.
Yeah, we are looking at a very specific, highly prescriptive piece of source material today. What's a text simply titled, Day One, Count Your Blessings.
Which, I mean, admittedly sounds a little bit like a phrase you'd find cross-stitched onto a decorative pillow at, like, a quaint bed and breakfast.
It does.
It sounds soft, It sounds very passive.
It really does sound like that. But let me assure you, that is absolutely not the mission for our deep dive today. We aren't just talking of the vague, fluffy, decorative pillow concept of gratitude where you just like vaguely appreciate a nice sunset or something.
Right, right. Not just a feeling.
No, we are dissecting a rigorous, uncompromising, step-by-step protocol. I mean, this text claims that following its exact operational instructions will, and I quote, magically turn your world around. So, okay, let's unpack this.
It's a massive, bold claim to make. But, as we look closely at the architecture of this protocol, the mechanics behind it are highly structural.
Very structural.
Yeah, the text doesn't treat gratitude as this fleeting mood you just sort of hope to catch on a good day. It treats it as an absolute, immutable rule of addition and subtraction. It's basically a mathematical equation that governs your attention.
Right. And if our attention is an equation, that leads us directly to the foundational rule of this text. It states very clearly that when you are grateful for things, no matter how microscopic or, seemingly insignificant they might be, you will see those things actively increase in your life.
And what's fascinating here is how the text treats focus as an active multiplier. From a cognitive psychology standpoint, I mean, this mirrors the reticular activating system in our brains.
The reticular activating system.
Yeah, the RAS. It's like a filter. When
Yeah.
you tell your brain that something is important, like, say, the color yellow or a specific type of car you want to buy, your brain suddenly starts seeing it absolutely everywhere.
Oh yeah, like when you buy a new car and suddenly everyone on the highway has the exact same car.
Exactly. The protocol is essentially hijacking that biological filtering system. By forcing you to focus on a blessing, your brain begins scanning your environment for more of them just to prove you right.
But then comes the severe warning, and this is where the text gets intensely demanding, I think. It says that when we count negative things, those increase too.
Which makes sense based on the filter.
Right, but worse, and this is the part that literally stopped me in my tracks, it claims that with every single negative thing we count, we actively cancel out blessings that were on their way to us.
Yes, it introduces this mechanism of active sabotage. It's not just that complaining puts you in a sour mood for 20 minutes and then, you move on with your day.
Right.
The framework argues that the negativity is literally canceling out incoming positive outcomes. It's a destructive force.
I really need to wrap my head around this. Because is this like a zero-sum game of attention?
Kind of, yeah.
Like, let's say I spend 10 minutes complaining about the horrific traffic on my commute. Did I just bankrupt the 10 minutes I spent being genuinely, profoundly grateful over my perfect morning cup of coffee?
That's a great way to put it.
Because it frames attention entirely like a financial ledger. If my positive focus deposits funds into my energetic bank account, does a minor complaint issue, like a massive account-draining chargeback,
That is an incredibly accurate way to model what the author is suggesting here. And to understand why a minor complaint might drain the account so quickly, we have to look at our own evolutionary biology.
okay, biology, how so?
Well, humans have a built-in negativity bias. Tens of thousands of years ago, noticing a beautiful flower didn't keep you alive, right?
Right, sure.
But noticing a predator definitely did. So our brains are hardwired to give negative stimuli disproportionate weight. The text recognizes this imbalance. In fact, it provides a very specific grounding quote from a 19th century clergyman named Maltby D. Babcock.
Oh, the quote about losing count.
Yes, he says, better to lose count while naming your blessings than to lose your blessings to counting your troubles.
Lose your blessings to counting your troubles.
Yeah,
Man, that is heavy.
it's a stark warning.
It is. But I have to play devil's advocate here for a second. It's demanding a level of cognitive vigilance that most of us just don't, or frankly can't practice.
It is very demanding.
Right. Because we're told by modern psychology that venting is healthy, that suppressing frustration is actually bad for us. But this protocol is basically saying, no, your ledger is running in the red every single time you indulge in a vent session. Doesn't that sound just, well, exhausting?
It sounds exhausting if you view it through the lens of modern therapeutic venting. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But the protocol demands that you treat your attention as your most high-stakes, non-renewable resource.
Non-renewable, right.
You literally cannot afford the luxury of indulging in a negative inventory. The framework doesn't care if venting feels good in the moment because the opportunity cost is just too high.
You're paying for it.
Exactly. You're paying for that complaint with the good things that were supposedly en route to you. It treats negativity not as an emotional release, but as that leap in the boat we talked about earlier.
Wow. Okay, so if the attention ledger is so easily bankrupted by our natural inclination to complain, which we all have, how do we actually build a positive balance?
That's the real work.
Yeah, that makes the act of focusing on the positive not just a nice to have, but an absolute operational necessity for survival. Which brings us to exactly how this text demands you execute the positive side of the equation.
And it is very specific.
Highly rigid. We are told we must do this first thing in the morning, or at the very absolute least, as early in the day as humanly possible.
Because you're setting the baseline before the day's infinite variables can interfere, before you check your email, before the news alerts hit your phone, before your boss texts you.
Oh, the dread of the morning texts.
Right. You are establishing the neurological operating system for the next 16 hours.
And that operating system starts with an inventory. The instruction is to make a simple written list of exactly 10 blessings in your life that you were grateful for.
Not 3, not 5.
Not a vague journaling session. Exactly 10. But here's where it gets really interesting. You can't just write down coffee, dog, sunshine, and move on with your day.
No, it requires more depth.
The text actually invokes Albert Einstein.
Mm.
And not for his theoretical physics, but for his methodology of appreciation. The text notes that when Einstein gave thanks, he always thought about the reason why he was grateful.
And the inclusion of Einstein is very deliberate by the author. It takes gratitude from a passive, fleeting feeling and elevates it to a structured, rigorous intellectual exercise.
That makes it active.
Yes. You aren't just observing a fact of your reality. You are interrogating it. You are demanding causality.
I hear that, but I have to push back on this quite a bit. I mean, it is very easy to just rattle off a list of 10 things. I'm grateful for my car, my dog, my breakfast, boom, done.
Check the box.
Right. But the text insists on finding the why to generate a deep feeling. It explicitly states, remember that the magic of gratitude happens according to the degree of your feelings. 2 exclamation points even.
It's emphatic about the emotion.
It really is. It even gives you specific fill-in-the-blank formulas to use. Things like, I am truly blessed to have blank because blank, or I am so happy and grateful for blank because blank.
Very prescriptive.
Yeah. So if I'm forcing myself to write this out while sitting on the edge of my bed before I've even brushed my teeth, my brain's BS detector is going to go off. Isn't forcing a profound, deeply felt emotion a really tall order for a groggy brain that knows it's just completing an assignment?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to look at the architecture of how human emotion actually functions. You're absolutely right that you cannot simply command yourself to feel an emotion on demand.
Right, you can't just say, be happy.
Exactly. If I tell you to feel profound, overwhelming joy right this very second, out of nowhere, you can't do it. Your BS detector, as you called it, will absolutely block it. The why is the bridge over that detector.
Hit a bridge, okay.
By forcing your groggy morning brain to articulate a logical, structural reason, the why, the emotion naturally follows behind the logic.
So the logic acts as a Trojan horse for the feeling.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Those formatting prompts, the fill-in-the-blank sentences, they're essentially neurological training wheels for deep emotional resonance.
Training wheels.
Yeah, when you're forced to complete the sentence, I'm truly blessed to have my car, because your brain cannot just stop at the visual image of the car. It has to search its database for a functional reason.
I see. Like, because it gives me the independence to safely visit my aging parents whenever they need me.
Yes. Suddenly, you aren't thinking about a hunk of metal and some rubber tires in your driveway. You're thinking about independence. You're thinking about family, capability, and love. The feeling of gratitude swells automatically to match the significance of the why.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. The
Yeah.
why is the mechanism, the actual engine that generates the feeling. And the text is incredibly adamant that the so-called magic only happens according to the degree of that feeling.
You can't fake it.
No, you can't just go through the motions. You can't just do the administrative paperwork of gratitude and expect the multiplier effect to kick in.
It is the difference between reading a recipe for a cake and actually eating the cake. The text requires you to consume the emotion. The writing is just the prep work.
Which perfectly transitions us into the next phase of this daily protocol. Because let's say you've got the list, you've used the training wheels, you've tricked your brain into finding the why, and you've successfully generated the feeling.
The job still isn't done.
The text doesn't stop there. It adds these highly specific, almost ceremonial steps to physically and verbally cement the practice. It's not enough to just write it down in a notebook and close it.
You are referring to the post list ritual. This is where the protocol demands an entirely different type of cognitive engagement.
Right. After you finish your list of 10, the instructions dictate that you must go back and read each one. You can do this in your mind, or you can do it out loud.
Either way works.
Yeah. And when you get to the very end of each individual item, you must say the magic words, thank you, thank you, thank you, and feel the gratitude for that specific blessing as intensely as humanly possible.
The repetition is the critical mechanism here. 3 times, not once, not twice.
So what does this all mean? Why 3 times? To me, it reminds me of a verbal combination lock.
A combination log, I like that.
Yeah, like you write the thing, you find the underlying why, you feel the feeling, and then saying thank you, thank you, thank you acts like the final 3 distinct clicks of the dial that snap the padlock shut.
That's a great visual.
It securely seals the feeling into place. It locks that positive deposit into the financial ledger we were talking about earlier, basically making it safe from the daily chargebacks.
That combination lock analogy is an excellent way to conceptualize the neuroscience at play here. The verbal repetition forces a cognitive pause. Think about how our anxious, modern brains work.
Always rushing.
Exactly. We just want to check the box. We want to rush past item number 1 to get to item number 2, just to finish the list. Saying it 3 times acts as a pattern interrupt.
Oh, a pattern interrupt.
It physically prevents you from rushing. It anchors your consciousness in that specific feeling of appreciation for an extra 3 to 5 seconds, demanding your absolute full presence. It signals to your nervous system that this item is deeply important.
But, okay, what if your brain just completely blanks? Let's be real. Finding 10 distinct things every single morning sounds incredibly daunting.
It does get hard after a few days.
Yeah, if you're struggling, or the well runs dry by, like day 4, the text actually provides specific categories to prompt ideas. It lists things like health and body, work and success, money, relationships, passions, happiness, love, life.
Very broad category.
Yeah, it's ensuring you don't just focus on obvious material things, but scan the totality of your existence for positive entries.
And this is a brilliant defense against cognitive fatigue.
Yeah.
When we try to think of things we're grateful for, our brains tend to get stuck in a rut of proximity. We just look at whatever is right in front of us.
Like my coffee mug.
Right. By providing these categories, the protocol forces a comprehensive audit of your reality. It bypasses your blind spots. For instance, you might be incredibly stressed about the money category right now, and that stress is clouding your vision.
It takes over everything.
Exactly. But doing this structured audit forces you to pivot and realize that the health and body category is actually overflowing with invisible blessings you've been entirely ignoring.
It stops you from letting one bad category bankrupt the whole ledger.
Precisely.
But here is the craziest part. The protocol isn't over when the morning routine ends. There's evening homework.
Yes, the evening routine.
And this is where the text takes a very unexpected turn. It instructs you to go out and physically find a magic rock to use for the exercise.
Magic rock.
A literal rock. It says it can be anything. A crystal, a smooth rock from your garden, a pebble from a riverbed, just something small enough to fit in the palm of your hand without jagged edges. Because, as the text states, you will be holding this magic rock every single night right before you fall asleep.
This raises an important question, right? Why introduce a physical object? Up until this exact moment, the entire protocol has been cognitive, linguistic, and emotional.
Just in your head.
Writing, reading, speaking, feeling, it is all happening inside your head or on a piece of paper. Why suddenly demand that the participants step away from their desk, go outside, dig in the garden, and find a pebble?
Yeah, honestly, it feels a little out of left field. Like we suddenly shifted gears from behavioral psychology straight into, I don't know, geology
Yeah.
or mysticism. What is the actual function of a rock?
It's actually deeply rooted in tactile psychology and something called state-dependent memory.
Taint-dependent memory.
Yeah, think about it. A thought is completely invisible. A feeling is ephemeral. It evaporates the second you get distracted. But a rock has physical weight. It has texture. It has temperature.
It's real.
Right. By introducing a physical object that you must physically hold in your hand right before you slip into unconsciousness, the protocol creates a tangible anchor. Think about how the sudden smell of a specific perfume can instantly teleport your brain to a childhood memory.
Oh, definitely.
The olfactory nerve is wired to memory. Well, touch works similarly. By holding the exact same smooth, cold stone every single night while generating a feeling of gratitude, you are neurologically hardwiring in that physical sensation to the emotional state.
So it's a physical manifestation of all the invisible mental work you did that morning.
Precisely. It bookends the day. The morning requires the high-effort, active cognitive task of writing the list, finding the why, and speaking the words.
The heavy lifting.
Yes. The evening requires the incredibly simple, tactile, physical task of holding the rock and remembering the best thing that happened that day. It translates the abstract mental ledger into a physical token you can hold. It ensures that your absolute last sensory and emotional experience of the waking day is tied directly back to the protocol of gratitude.
So you start the day actively preventing the negative chargebacks to your ledger, and you end the day holding the literal, physical proof of your positive balance.
Yeah.
You hold the combination lock in your hand as you go to sleep.
Beautifully said.
It really is a completely comprehensive closed-loop system.
It leaves absolutely no room for the passive looping negativity we discussed at the very beginning of our conversation. It occupies your morning, it dictates your focus during the daylight hours, and it sits right there in the palm of your hand at night.
Which brings us right back to you, the listener. What we've uncovered today is exactly why this specific protocol matters so much. If you felt like you're bailing water with a teaspoon, this text is offering you a bucket and a patch for the hull.
A much better strategy.
It takes a concept like being thankful, something that society so often treats as a fluffy, passive, and frankly cliché afterthought, and it turns it into a rigorous, active daily regimen.
It does.
It provides clear, uncompromising operating instructions. You don't just try to be happy. You write exactly 10 things. You define the logical why. You repeat the verbal log 3 times. You hold the physical rock. It demands your absolute participation to shift the math in your favor.
But, while the protocol is elegantly designed, it also introduces a fascinating, lingering tension.
What do you mean?
Well, if the absolute magic of this practice, the very mechanism that allegedly turns your world around, depends entirely on the degree of your profound feeling, what happens when writing out those 10 things becomes just another routine chore?
Oh, right, because we get used to things.
Exactly. Human beings are built to adapt. Our brains normalize everything, no matter how wonderful it is. It's called hedonic adaptation.
Hedonic adaptation.
So how do you keep the intense feeling from fading when the daily habit itself becomes automatic? Does true, deep, world-changing gratitude require you to constantly scramble to find brand new things to put on that morning list just to chase the feeling? Or is the real mastery learning how to look at the exact same old things, the same car, the same morning coffee, the same smooth pebble with entirely new eyes every single day?
That is a lot to think about. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be waiting right here for you next time.